Hey YouTube, catch us here. This is my first try wait, god damn it, I forgot about it again. That's a good start for a video. Ramble reading. I am reading a different fiction, Pint-Sized Demon and Cookies by Grainsofsand. It's a Naruto fan fiction, rated C, written in English, with it's humor and family. It was published 7/16/08, and it was updated a month ago from this recording. And so, without further ado, oh, by the way, sorry if you hear me trip on some word. I tend to speak very, very quickly when I'm excited. And also, you might want to watch the volume, because I may speak loudly during some of the parts. So, without further ado, Chapter 1, Pint-Sized Destruction. It was all because he had become too strong. That, and he had a mind of his own, and refused to obey his father, the Kazekage. So Orochimaru and his backstabbing, cowardly, and inept father decided to bring him down to sight, literally. They cast a jutsu on him, turning him into a 6-year-old boy, with only a few dim recollection and a sensation of constant heartache for memories. However, they made a minor miscalculation. He was still the equivalent of his older self in power. However, they decided that, in the long run, this was much better than a mature Gaara. He was taken to Konoha, where he was unknowingly the center of a hideous plot, which is where our story begins, on the outskirts of the village hidden in the leaves. He didn't know where he was, and this, coupled with being chased by a bunch of Anbu from his village, frightened him. They kept yelling at him. They wanted him to release it. They hated him, and the worst part about it was the fact that he didn't know why. He barely knew them. Yet here they were, chasing him around and throwing various weapons at him. He had to stop, because he had been running for so long. He was gasping for breath, his sides and feet hurt, and he had no energy left. He hadn't been able to eat for days because he kept poisoning his food. And he was in a strange land, with no knowledge of what was good to eat. His head hurt too, because it was stirring and about to wake up. And that was bad. It was to be used as a last resort only. Even though it was his only ally, it always went too far and killed the people around him. He had never actually seen this happen. The boy only knew that what would happen. That seems all too often the case. He just knew things, with no particular reason why. The knowledge came in tidbits, and when he tried to search for a memory that fit the knowledge, all he got was vague images and sounds in a thick fog. Oh, and a headache. He knew only a few things for certain. His name was Gaara. Everyone hated him and wanted him dead. He could control sand, and something really bad happened to him a long time ago. He knew he couldn't sleep, or else it would get loose. Hey, there it is! The boy spun around in alarm to see three Anbu coming after him. 3 more cut off his escape route. They surrounded him and threw their weapon. Stop it! Go away! Leave me alone! His distress only brought sneers behind their mask. Filthy monster! You don't deserve to live! Freak! You killed your own mother, you murderer! They should have cut your throat when you were born! You're such a failure! You can't even do this right! You don't deserve to be alive! The final struck him when they threw an explosion tag at him. He knew somehow that explosives were part of the bad thing that happened to him, and they never failed to wake it up. His body contorted painfully and began to expand as Shukaku emerged to defend his host. Claws emerged and ripped through the ninja, chopping them into various chunks of meat and bones. Then he descended on the sleeping village, leveling buildings, tearing through houses, and slaughtering many of the inhabitants. Many ninjas emerged, throwing kunai, shuriken, and senbon at the beast. Explosive tags were attached to many of the weapons in the hope of making them more effective. Shukaku, however, only laughed at them. They couldn't wake up Gara because he had been under for too long now. "You fool! You think you can stop me? You little bugs are too weak to kill me, and you cannot seal away what has already been imprisoned!" He roared savagely as he swept a building clean off its roof and the fender. He used great blasts of air to blow distant buildings and clusters of ninjas apart. On the other side of the village, large boas had been summoned and had crushed a section of the outer wall, thereby allowing a mixture of sound and send ninjas in. Hand-to-hand combat was heavy in that area, and the air was thick with battle cries, barked orders, and screams of the dying. It was music to the demon's ears. Shukaku raked his claw along the ground, crushing rocks and concrete and turning them into sand. The new sand was used to make more sand, until large dunes drifted throughout the village. Shukaku spotted something, a young girl by the look of it. Wide lavender eyes gazed at him in shock, her navy hair whipping in the wind. He raised a claw to crush her, but something held him back. This one was an innocent, and although that had never stopped him before, this time was different for some reason. Something about her was different, although he couldn't quite put his claw on it. Curiosity got the best of him, and on a whim he decided to spare her, just to see what would happen. She seemed to get the message, and she gracefully leaped from the pile of rubble to escape into the street, pausing to look back on him once, with what seems to be gratitude. He watched for a while, then turned back to the slaughter, forgetting about the strange girl. Another demon host was now before him, about the age his container should be, and would have been if those bastards hadn't interfered. The blonde kid was holding some sort of spinning blue ball of light. An interesting jutsu, but not a major threat. Even when the brat launched himself at him with a loud cry, he wasn't fazed. Looking at the damage to his claw, Shukaku conceded that if he had been smaller, he might have been in a bad way, but he had felt nothing more than a pinprick. He simply filled his claw with sand to repair the damage and batted the kids away. Moments later, a large toad came after him with a kid on top of his head. The water bullets were easy enough to counteract. All he had to do was use his hair bullet, and even managed to score with one shot, knocking his amphibian nemesis into a nearby apartment building. Sorry about that. He even managed to score with one shot, knocking his amphibian nemesis into a nearby apartment complex. The toad got back up and spewed some oil at him, which a kid set alight with an explosive tag. Fire, however, was never very threatening to Shukaku. The mineral that he was made of had a very high melting point, much higher than the flames that he was faced with. However, this presented a golden opportunity, and he lunged forward through the flame, grappling with the toad. With a great cry, the toad chief managed to twist free, but he had sustained several deep gashes. That was when the kid and the toad transformed into Kyubi, the nine-tailed demon fox. Shukaku growled, considering his new foe. Kyubi had always been fast and nimble, but amongst the demon, not particularly strong or adept at long-range attack. The fox favored a hit-and-run style of battle with other demons. Shukaku was fast and strong, but only at close range, and had excellent long-range attack. The fox, however, could easily evade the distance attack, so those were pointless. Shukaku's only option was to grapple with Kyubi and pin him to the ground. This, however, wasn't a real Kyubi, so he might have a better chance if he was patient. These foes has proven tenacious and cunning, but not unbeatable. His container was far too important to him to let anyone harm him, and besides, it wasn't his fault that they were in this situation. It was wrong for them to blame his little Gara for all of their problem. Kyubi lunged forward and sank his fang painfully in his arm, one of his tail knocking into Gara. Shukaku swiftly drew him inside, cushioning him in a safe pocket of hair, all the while cursing at his carelessness. That blow could have killed the boy. He felt him stirring restlessly, and, for a fleeting instant, he feared that he would wake and be defenseless against his enemies. But it was okay. He was having a bad dream, and he soon settled back down as it faded away. Shukaku angrily seized the fox, pinning him down to the ground. He used his great weight to keep him on his back as Shukaku brought his fang down on his throat, tearing savagely. The transformation faded, leaving behind an unconscious boy and a wounded toad. The toad poofed away, and the ninja with white hair was able to get to the boy before his claw came crashing down. Shukaku roared his anger, but he lost the jonin in the crowd of defenders. Another blast of air sent him... Another blast of air was sent their way, catching many of them, but some managed to jump away just in the nick of time. Shukaku turned away from them, heading toward the battling Kages. The Kazekage was losing to the old man, much to Shukaku's delight, but he would have his say first. He snatched up the overgrown rat, glaring at him down his snout. "You filthy little rat! Do you think you were safe? Did you think that I would forget all you have done to him? Well, I have news for you." He squeezed the man's legs painfully, snapping them in many places. "I don't forgive or forget, and the next time we meet, I will kill you. You can spend the next few months in the hospital beds and think about the choice you have made." He threw him to the ground contemptuously. He then lumbered out to the wood, hoping to find a peaceful place to rest. Now, sorry to interrupt again, but this is a reader's note. Dana is in the next part, so if you hear him change accents while he's speaking, that's all me. So back to the story. It was not long before two intruders disturbed his rest. One was a hulk lumbering on the ground, with a tangy smell of poison clinging to him. The other was walking normally and spoke with an odd accent. An acrid scent wafted from him, smelling of something that was burning, or gunpowder perhaps. "Sasori also tells us that he's in the village somewhere, on. Looks like a bitch battle is going on. We can sneak in and no one would notice him missing until it's too late, on." Daidara, those ninja couldn't have caused all of that damage all by themselves. Not even Orochimaru is that destructive. Something doesn't smell right. The fools didn't even realize that he was less than 10 feet away, probably because, unless viewed from afar, he looked like a rocky outcropping. He listened in keenly, wondering about these two. "Orochimaru, can summon up giant snake, on? And that's exactly what he did. Look there. You can see them there, on." He pointed out at the snake in the distance. "Yes, But how about all of that sand? That's just ashes, rubble from the wrecked building, and perhaps some residual effect from the Sand Ninja's jutsu. Nothing to concern yourself with now. Let's get Shukaku's vessel and get out of here while we can use the confusion to advantage, hon. I'm from the desert, you moron. I know what sands look like and how most jutsu with sand work. They don't work like that. The only way they could be that much sand if it's a brat released the demon. Oh really, hon? Then where is he? I don't see a giant raccoon anywhere, hon. I don't know. That's why we should wait and see. I'm telling you now, we can't fight the kids if he let that thing out, especially if it's been free over a long period of time. I can't poison it, and your explosions are too small to do much damage, even if that big one you made won't blast him apart completely. And he has the ability to fill any wound with his sand, making it just like it never happened. Well, that may be true. The fact that he's a giant raccoon means that we should see him, or at least hear him coming on. The fact that I don't see him or hear anything means that he is still human, meaning that we can get him and extract the demon on. Shukaku's eye narrowed. That would kill the boy, and he wasn't about to let that happen. These two, yes, he could kill them. It would be difficult if it was a prolonged battle, but he could. He was made of sand, and poisoning sand was useless. He wouldn't even spread to the boy because he was cocooned too deep within him. In order for poison to spread, you needed a circulatory system, and he didn't have one. The other one though, he could apparently use large explosive. While he was far too dense for them to truly hurt him, the noise may wake up Gaara, and he would be defenseless against these two. Shukaku would take care of the little pyromaniac first. He smirked slightly, revealing his teeth. If you can't see me, then you two must be blind, human scum. They whipped around, coming face to face with his snout. His grin widened. I thought you said this was just an outtrooping, Daidara. It appears like I may have been mistaken on. May have been? There's no may have been about it. Shukaku's claw came down on Daidara, pinning him to the ground. He didn't know what sort of jutsu the guy had, and he didn't want to find out. Using his other claws, he ripped him in two and crushed his skull. The sash headband would be kept. It could be a clue as to who this ninja was, and what the big idea was killing Gaara and taking him out away from him. He turned to the other one, and knew that this one was an odd one. He knew this chakra though, or rather its relative. Chio, yes, the one who sealed him in his host. Not their children, they were dead. A grandchildren, perhaps? No matter. He had to be killed before he got away. His claw came down again, crushing the ninja. Just to be safe, he scattered the pieces and took the headband and tossed both bodies into the raging fire in the village. Just to be safe. He was still uncertain as to what jutsu this guy had. For all he knew, they could be like Kabuto and have super healing ability. Even he, however, couldn't survive a crossed skull or regenerate cauterized wound. He watched the body burn away to nothingness from a safe distance. Shukaku decided that he had had enough with killing rats for one night. The best thing he could do for Gaara was to take him home, away from this many enemy. It was a 3-day journey to Suna on foot, if you were human. He, however, could cover it in one night if he ran. So he bounded off, heading for home where the wind sang lullaby to his container and the warm sand was his blanket. End of chapter 1. By the way, if you want to read the 16 chapter that are in fanfiction net, search for Grains of Sand. The author is Grainsofsand, and the title is Pint-Sized Demon and Cookie. See you next time!